over time, I became obsessed with this notion of paperless construction. How can we get to a stage where we're not relying on 2D drawings? I mean, they've been around since the Egyptians, and that's, thousands of years ago now. So I was like, in parallel, studying architecture and getting into that side of the things, you could see 3D was coming hard and fast, and it was starting to penetrate into construction, and we had this thing called BIM happening. So I was like, okay, if only we could kind of connect the piece of the puzzle there and position that model out on site to millimeter accuracy, you could actually build from holograms. And that became it, builders building from holograms. And that's where we wanted to go. So I trialed some proof of concepts out there. One of them was actually with my previous employer, where I was pulled over to this data center project in Ireland. And they go, David, we signed up to this thing called BIM. We don't have any drawings. I have 150 men out on site, and they can't do anything, because they have no drawings to work from. And I was like, oh, that's not good. So he got up over there, and I was like, right, okay. So I got some 3 drafts people lined up, and it was taking the 3 drafts people. It was taking us 3 days to produce enough drawings to keep the site going for 1 day. So it was just oh, this is still not good. Still not good. So I remember being at a site meeting, and the client was there, and my old contractor our boss was there, Jay Coffees. And I was like, we could do this with paperless construction. And I remember he's kicking me the shit under the table, going, what the hell are you talking about? What's this? And I was like, yeah, we can do it. We can do it. So long story short, we hacked this system together. I just had some basic code. I wasn't a coder by any chance, but long story short, we just exported the line drawing of a BIM model out into all the machines out inside. I think you can do that normally now with anything. But back then it was before that had come to market. And we went out to the field, and we gave a couple of people an iPad out in the field. We kind of picked people who had, some people don't want change, some people are up for change. So we picked someone who was like, oh yeah, that could be interesting. And it turned out he was actually 5 times faster installing works thereafter through that process. So that was boom, this is happening. So we went from a stage where it was taking 3 people to produce enough drawings to keep the site going for 1 day, to just me in 20 minutes could issue enough information to keep the site going for 3 days. So that kind of flipped it on its head. Turned to my employer, saw that job showing to a level of maturity, turned to my employer and I said, look guys, you've seen the benefits, I've seen it, I'm going after this and you can't stop me. And they go, well, don't go anywhere, David, we actually want to be part of that journey. And they preceded the business. So they got me off the ground, which is great, that a subcontractor would back you, a startup, to go and build from holograms. And that's what got me going. So I stopped there for a minute, went on for a bit.
Well, maybe then this is another part of the journey. I don't know the story. So you started with iPad. What was okay, we're going to leave the iPad and we're going to go straight to headset holographic technology?
Yes. So from there, I actually I started, tinkering around with different technologies, and I came up with the first iteration was actually like a projector you hold in your hand and you project the plans onto the floor. And then, so you'd upload your drawings and you can see the plans on the floor. But I was like, no, that's just not a big enough leap. I want to go beyond that. I want to really push this. So I saw waveguides coming onto the market, which are these glass things here. So basically you can see holograms, and that got really exciting. And I saw the HoloLens at the time, and I experimented with the HoloLens. And I was like, wow, okay, if this is accurate, I can build something on top of this. But it had limited compute power, and it drifted as you walked through the site. Everyone knows the story with it, but it just wasn't good enough. So I was like, I really want to focus on engineering grade augmented reality. That's what I wanted to focus, because I could see everyone else was going quite broad over multiple sectors, limited compute power locally on the headset, and accuracy wasn't so important for them. So I doubled down on that and started drafting together a team. Murray was my CTO at the time, and I mean, they were all just mad enough to follow a crazy Irishman with a dream, I suppose. We're going to get builders building from holograms. It was a big statement. I remember even going out to market after I'd raised that capital from my previous employer, trying to get institutional investment after that. This is like back in 2017. I used to go into a room and they were like, oh, David, what are you trying to do here? And I'm like, builders building from holograms. So hardware, and I'm like, yeah. And they're like, whoa. And what industry? Construction? I'm like, yes. And they're just like, get out. You know what I mean? So luckily construction tech has come a long way now, but back then it was a lot different landscape.